The waves rolled gently against the shore as the evening sun cast a golden hue over the set. Twilight stepped out of the changing room, dressed in a flowing, light blue chiffon dress patterned with delicate embroidery. Her long black hair cascaded over her shoulders, swaying softly in the wind. With a peaceful demeanor and delicately applied makeup, she looked like a vision of quiet elegance. The crew held their breath. Twilight was known for her cold and distant aura, but the moment she stepped onto the set, her entire presence transformed. She radiated a quiet warmth, her lips curving into a soft, almost shy smile. "Twilight, let's do a quick run-through of the script," the director called. She almost declined. But then she thought of him, the man who was about to appear. A rare wave of nervousness settled in her chest. Even she could get nervous? The thought amused her, and she nodded, stepping onto the set. As the camera started rolling, Twilight took her position barefoot on the sand, staring into the horizon as if waiting for a long-lost lover. She walked back and forth, clutching her dress, her eyes brimming with emotions. The anticipation, the silent longing, the lingering disappointment. Every emotion was expressed with striking clarity. The director, watching through the monitor, was stunned. She wasn't a professional actress, yet her performance was raw, flawless, and utterly captivating. Then steady footsteps echoed from behind. The crew turned toward the sound, their curiosity piqued. A tall figure in a perfectly tailored black suit strode onto the set, his imposing presence demanding attention. Slade. Twilight turned, her breath catching. The man before her was stunning. His broad shoulders, sculpted features, and neatly pressed collar exuded effortless charm. His eyes locked onto hers, unwavering, intense. "Slade," her voice was barely a whisper. He stepped closer, the world fading around them. Gently he brushed a loose strand of hair behind her ear, his deep voice laced with a rare tenderness. "Others wouldn't be able to invite me," he murmured. "Only you. You are my weakness." Twilight's lips parted slightly, her heart skipping a beat. The moment felt too real, too personal. The scene resumed. Twilight stood still as Slade moved behind her, lifting her delicate hand. Slowly, he slid an engagement ring onto her finger, his touch lingering. The words he spoke weren't just lines from a script. They felt like a promise. The camera zoomed in on her face, capturing the flicker of surprise, the tears that welled in her eyes, the unspoken love that passed between them. The director was awestruck. The take was perfect, seamless, natural, breathtaking. As the scene ended, Twilight didn't step away. Instead, she threw herself into Slade's arms, resting her ring-adorned hand on his shoulder. It wasn't part of the script, but it didn't matter. From the side, the crew whispered among themselves, "Are they really not a couple?" The first scene wrapped up smoothly, but the emotions lingering in the air were undeniable. Twilight remained close to Slade, her fingers lightly gripping the fabric of his suit as if afraid to let go. The director hesitated for a moment before snapping out of his trance. "All right, reset for the next scene. Everyone move to position." The crew quickly reassembled at the next location, a stone-paved pathway leading toward a grand, European-style chapel in the distance. The soft golden light of the evening cast a dreamy glow over the scene, enhancing the romance of the moment. Twilight was ushered back into the changing room, where a makeup artist helped her prepare for the next look. Hanging beside her was a champagne-colored sleeveless wedding dress, simple yet elegant, adorned with delicate hand-embroidered patterns. There were no extravagant diamonds or gemstones, just layers of soft gauze that gave it an ethereal beauty. Mia, her close friend and assistant, watched with a teasing smile. "Would you consider this taking advantage of work for personal gain? Using this commercial to make up for the wedding photos you never took with Slade?" Twilight glanced at her reflection in the mirror, a rare smile touching her lips. She didn't deny it. Mia chuckled. "Well, since your husband is Slade, you can do whatever you want. But I must say, you look breathtaking." Twilight had walked countless runways in bridal gowns before, but this time was different. This time, the man waiting at the end of the aisle wasn't a stranger. After final touch-ups, she stepped out of the changing room. The moment she did, silence fell over the set. Crew members, stylists, and even the director paused, momentarily captivated. Slade, who had been standing nearby, turned his head. His usually unreadable expression faltered for just a moment. His sharp, composed demeanor softened as his eyes traced over Twilight. The fitted bodice of the dress accentuated her slender frame, and the flowing layers of fabric made her seem almost weightless. A delicate tiara sat atop her dark hair, with a sheer veil cascading down her back. Slade's grip on his cuff tightened. No matter how many times he had pictured her in a wedding dress, seeing it in reality made something inside him shift. The director standing nearby smirked knowingly. If there had been any doubt before, it was gone now. If this wasn't love, then what was? The second scene begins. With everyone in position, the director called out, "Ready, action!" Twilight and Slade took their places. The scene was simple yet deeply romantic. An engaged couple filled with excitement, rushing toward their wedding ceremony. Twilight held the hem of her gown as she ran ahead, her laughter light and free. Slade, just a few steps behind, reached for her hand. But before she could take another step, she stumbled, her ankle twisting slightly. She gasped, and the next second, Slade was in front of her, his hand steadying her before she could fall. Without hesitation, he knelt before her. His fingers moved with precision, removing her shoes and tossing them aside. Then in one smooth motion, he turned, lowered himself, and gestured for her to climb onto his back. Twilight hesitated, momentarily taken aback. This wasn't acting. The warmth of his hands, the quiet command in his voice, it felt real. Slowly, she placed her arms around his shoulders, allowing him to lift her. Slade stood up with ease, adjusting her weight effortlessly. The camera zoomed in on the small, unspoken details. The way his hands held onto her thighs securely. The way her head rested lightly against his back. As he carried her up the stone steps leading to the chapel, Twilight's heart pounded not because of the scene, but because of the man carrying her. Behind the monitor, the director didn't call cut. He didn't need to. Every expression, every glance, every touch between them was natural, too natural. The final shot captured the chapel in the distance. As Slade reached the top of the stairs, Twilight lifted her head slightly, looking at him. He turned just enough to meet her gaze, and in that fleeting moment, before the scene ended, a single thought passed between them. Was this still just a performance, or was it something more? The second scene had gone so smoothly that even the director seemed hesitant to call cut. Slade had carried Twilight effortlessly, his grip firm, his movements steady. The chemistry between them wasn't just acting. It was something deeper, something unspoken yet undeniable. Now the set was prepared for the third and final scene. Scene 3, the final wedding shot. A breathtaking scene set on a wooden bridge at dusk, surrounded by a tranquil lake that reflects the deep indigo sky. The fading light casts a golden glow over the bridge, and the air is thick with the quiet serenity of the moment. In the distance, rolling hills and a lush forest create a picturesque backdrop, enhancing the timeless beauty of the setting. Twilight stands at the center of the bridge, her champagne-colored wedding dress flowing effortlessly in the soft evening breeze. The sheer layers of gauze catch the light subtly, making her appear almost ethereal. Her long veil drapes over the wooden planks behind her, the delicate embroidery shimmering under the dimming sky. Her hair, still adorned with a crystal tiara, is styled in loose waves, framing her serene yet contemplative expression. She isn't looking at the camera. Instead, her gaze is fixed on the horizon, where the last traces of daylight slowly disappear. There is no more nervous anticipation, no lingering hesitation, only quiet acceptance and contentment. Slade stands beside her, his presence steady and unwavering. He is dressed in a dark, navy handmade suit, tailored to perfection. Unlike the earlier scenes where he played the role of a passionate lover chasing after his bride, here he is calm and composed. His hands rest casually in his pockets, yet there is an undeniable strength in the way he carries himself. The director signals for the final shot to begin, a moment of stillness. The only movement comes from the gentle rustling of Twilight's gown and the occasional flicker of light on the water's surface. Then ever so slowly, Slade reaches out. His left hand finds Twilight's right, fingers intertwining in a natural, effortless motion. The camera zooms in on their hands, matching wedding bands, catching the soft glow of the lanterns hanging along the bridge. This is no longer a scene of fleeting passion or youthful excitement. It is a portrayal of something deeper, love, that has stood the test of time. Unwavering and steady, Twilight exhales softly, a faint smile touching her lips. Without a word, she leans her head against Slade's shoulder. He doesn't move, doesn't flinch. Instead, his grip on her hand tightens just slightly, an unspoken promise exchanged in the silence. The camera lingers, capturing every detail. The subtle rise and fall of their breaths, the way their bodies instinctively lean toward each other, the undeniable comfort in their closeness. The moment is simple yet profoundly intimate. Perfect. Absolutely perfect, the director murmurs, watching from behind the monitor. But Slade and Twilight remain still, lost in the moment even after the director calls, "Cut." A long pause. Then finally Slade speaks, his voice low and steady. 10 years later and you still fit perfectly against me." Twilight chuckles softly, shifting just enough to glance up at him. "Maybe you just never let go." Slade smirks. "Maybe I never wanted to." The final shot fades to black, the image of their intertwined hands lingering as the last thing the audience sees, a silent testament to love that lasts a lifetime.